just real quick, because I'm about to have to leave, and Carla is going to take over. But Miss Dinah, I have 2 boys now. When I knew Dinah, I couldn't have kids. Like, God has done so much in my life since I haven't seen her. And now I get the pleasure of introducing Miss Marigold. She is I don't want to mess up your title, Miss Marigold, Chief Executive Officer of JC Freedom House. She is a absolute jewel and beautiful woman. I'm so blessed to know her. And I would like to tell you just a small story with Miss Marigold. So can I say how I met you? Okay. So I met Miss Marigold. We had started a prayer ministry here at Crossroads Church, and I got to be one of the first people that got to join this team. And someone came and found me and let me know that there was a lady who was in need of prayer. And it was Miss Marigold. And during that time period, I had just come out of like a rough season, and I wondered, God, are you still hearing my prayers? Like, so on, et cetera. We all have those moments in our life. And there were some things that the Lord gave me the faith to say to Marigold. That together we prayed and believed, and they are all coming to fruition today. And I find it a beautiful thing to get to tell you to come stand on your soapbox.
I'm so glad that Miss Shannon mentioned that, because when I was in great distress, I had very little because I had to flee my home with just a shirt on my back and my purse. And Miss Shannon, she was like a ray of light. And not just Miss Shannon, many, many, many people, some of them in this room, were like a ray of light to me. I was going through such distress. And every time I'd come to Crossroad Church, where is Miss Shannon? And she would pray, and the Holy Spirit would be all over it. And she's reminding me that one of the things she said was that I would have a soapbox. I didn't remember that. But thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you coming. I have a short PowerPoint presentation. It will be up there shortly that I'll go through, and I'll talk to you a little bit. You can move it along. So this was me when I was in the domestic violence shelter. I took that picture accidentally. I didn't even know it was there. Yeah, but I was just very distressed. But I thought, okay, I'm going to use that accidental photo. But I came to the USA to be a blessing, actually. I am an ordained minister, but I also have a big part in business. I was an international business consultant and a professor and a CPA. I've had a few professions. Anyway, I did quite a lot of things before I came here, but I came just to do Christian ministry with my then husband. And quickly, within 2 months, I found myself in a domestic violence situation, and I had to flee for my life to the shelter. And so that was where I was, and it was a big shock to my system because I had a very stable upbringing. I think the shortest time I'd ever lived anywhere was 10 years prior to that. So to be in a shelter situation was very challenging. But through the help of this community, complete strangers, because I was 4,000 miles away from my home, and it was the help of strangers, people who I didn't know, that helped me, and I came back to myself. That's what I will say. I came back to myself. Let me encourage you. When I was to come out of here, I fought God. I didn't really want to come at all. I wanted to stay in the UK with my son, my family, and see my little less than 1-year-old grandchild grow up. But God had other plans. And I just want to encourage you that it's all about Him. It's all about Him. there's nothing else worth concerning ourselves about, because the only things that are going to last are things that are eternal and that will enter with you to eternity. Nothing else really matters. Sadly, a very, very close member of my family died yesterday. And I'm testament to the grace of God. I am testament to the grace of God, that you can just go on and God can give you the grace to go through whatever it is you're going through. Yeah? All right, so after I recovered, I then, one of the shelters that I stayed in, I found out that it was closing, and I had plans to keep it going, even to take it over, but I couldn't find the money to do it. And so God gave me the idea to get a lease purchase agreement, and even though our offer was the smallest offer, it was accepted. And then JC Freedom House was born. There was a shelter on that site for 7 years prior to that. And so JC Freedom House has been running around 3 years. And it'd be very remiss of me not to talk about the founders of the first shelter. And they're coming up in a minute. And then Kelly Penn. They were the founders of the first shelter. And it was just completely selfless. Like me, they were unpaid for the work that they did. But they did it, and it was a big faith walk. And I'd just like Kelly Penn to just stand up and be recognized tonight, or this afternoon. She doesn't really like to be recognized. But I have to recognize her because your legacy is living on. And with the help of everyone here, it will live on. And I'd just like to just move the slide along and just introduce to you the other lady that we both run the shelter together. Her name is Becky Lindsay, and she was at the shelter with me. And so we both run JC Freedom House together. And let me say to you, a lot of people say to me, oh, you're paying it forward. I promise you, I had no intentions of paying anything forward. I just came here to do this work. I didn't know I was going to be paying anything forward. I just wanted to do this work. I didn't want to do this work. I didn't know I was going to do this work. I thought I was going to do a church plant. But as somebody reminded me the other day, I'm planting a different form of seeds. It wasn't a church plant, it's a different form of seeds. Okay, you can move on a little bit. So we've been very grateful that God has created a lot of life change in the shelter. Women have had their lives transformed and just become a better version of themselves. We allow women to stay in our facility for up to a year, because one of the things I've noticed, because I work in an emergency shelter, I've noticed it takes time to change habits. And it was the habits that bring us to where we are today. And it just takes time. Sometimes it can't be done in, a month or 6 weeks. We just need time to transform. And because we are JC's house, JC Freedom House, Jesus Christ Freedom House, one of the quickest ways to transform is spiritual transformation. And so that is a really, really, really big part of what we do, the spiritual transformation. And there are many people in this room that have volunteered, they've come to speak to the women, and they've helped out in some way. And I'd like you to give a clap for all those people right now. Thank you. And so over the last 2.5 years, over 12 women have been receive shelter in the program. Most of them have come from a domestic violence background, but some of them haven't. And we just continue to do our programs. We started off, before we had the shelter, with a wellness program, with our walking clubs and our intercession club, and we continue to do that work, but our flagship is our shelter for women in crisis. And it can be any form of crisis. And I think that was why one of the testimonials was talking about she'd never seen a shelter like it, because when I was looking for shelter, there was nothing in Douglas County for a single woman in crisis. There was absolutely nothing. It was only the shelter that I went to that was here, and that was why I fought to keep it open, and why I'm still fighting. All right. And so there's been great life change. And so one of the testimonies you heard from a woman who was failing in her college course. And I'll never forget when she walked into the shelter. And I said to her, I just gave her a little tour. And I said, oh, this is where the food is, and that's where the refrigerator is. Take what you want. This is where the clothing is. Just help yourself. And I was just showing her around. And she was just bowled over to know that she wouldn't have to figure out where she was going to get food from anymore. She was bowled over. Okay. So I'd just like to just mention a few of the partners. We've got lots of partners, but these are a few of the partners that have helped us. Organizations like Faith in Action and the community helped us to it was an empty house when we got it, so we had to put everything into it. And it was these organizations that help and still help us to keep it going. So that brings us to the reason why we're here. We need to raise $155,000 by October in order to purchase a shelter, or it will close. And we can't afford for it to close because it's very, very needed. I just don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had that facility. I just don't know what I would have done if I didn't have that. And so thank you for what you've done so far, for making it happen and being here and supporting. But there's so much more to do. And Representative Alexander put it very well. There's something that you can do. I don't know what it is, but there's something that you can do to help us save the shelter. We need to raise $155,000, and so that we can keep this shelter. And so, on the point of what you could do one of these things. You know, you could run a fundraiser. There's a lot of people that have run a fundraiser. You could set up a monthly donation. You could volunteer. There's lots of different type of volunteering you can do to help us. So just reach out to us. You can reach out on us on our Facebook, on our website. You can come and talk to me. It's all good. And so I just want to end by saying that I didn't want a soapbox. A soapbox doesn't interest me. I'm just very focused on what God has asked me to do, which is help women in crisis. And we are on the way to getting our shelter for women and children in crisis. And you might say, oh my goodness, you're trying to save this one and you're going for another shelter? Yes, we're going for another shelter because that's what God wants. And He's going to do it. And so you can reach me, those are my contact details, but like I said, you can reach out and anywhere and contact me. And I just want to just leave this thought with you. When I was thinking about my relative that has passed, he wasn't ill, nothing going on, and he was suddenly dead, he's in his 40s. I thought about, again, and I'm going to restate it, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters apart from doing what God has for you. There's nothing else that will matter. And I'm going to leave that thought with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marigold. Can we give it up for Marigold again? What an awesome testimony that she shares, and the strength that it takes for you to stand here and share that testimony and to then be able to give back to others. We appreciate you for all that you're doing in this community, and I cannot wait until we celebrate that we were able to save this foundation. So I'm so excited about that. So we're celebrating here now, and we cannot wait to celebrate the manifestation of it.